Welcome back to my G1 Retro Reviews. Today we're taking a look at A Plague of Insecticons, which obviously features the debut of the titular Insecticons. In this episode, the Decepticons discovered their long-lost comrades, the Insecticons. This episode begins with the Insecticons attacking some farmers in Bali. Man, how many times in a row can I say the Insecticons? Well, the farmers then radio the Autobots for help, where we see my boy Skyfire again, who yet again acts as a jet taxi for some of the other Autobots. Meanwhile, at the Decepticon base, Megatron once again receives a report from Laserbeak, and once again, like I mentioned in the last episode, his chest flashes. I'm surprised no one has ever tried to work this into one of his toys. The Decepticons discovered the Insecticons' home, a Decepticon escape module. The Insecticons must have ejected from the Nemesis before it crashed on Earth. And when they eventually awoke, they adapted to their new environment by becoming giant insects. Sound like anyone else you know? When the Autobots confront the Insecticons, they demonstrate their unique ability to create clones of themselves, which is apparently an ability that they would retain after they are transformed by Unicron, as it seems that there are often more sweeps than just the two that we saw originally created from Shrapnel and Kickback in Transformers the movie. Supposedly, they kept the ability to clone themselves. We also see Shrapnel demonstrate the ability to control other Transformers with his override waves, although this is different from Bombshell's Cerebro Shells, which I don't believe he actually uses in this episode. We then see Optimus Prime and Brawn pull a fastball special, just like Wolverine and Colossus. As the Decepticons are creating Energon cubes at the oil refinery, I love how we get this ever so brief shot of Megatron just looking all chill, leaning against the wall, with his arms crossed and his fusion cannon off. He just looks so cool and relaxed, which is definitely a rare sight for Megatrons.
Soundwave, activate the Ravage cassette.
That's a weird way of putting it. Couldn't he have just said eject Ravage? The Insecticons demonstrate another ability of theirs, or more specifically Shrapnel's ability to conduct lightning. Man, they are really trying to oversell these new toys, aren't they? This is also the episode where Optimus Prime throws the oil tanker, which the guys at Rooster Teeth and Screw Attack interpreted as Optimus Prime being able to lift 100,000 tons or something ridiculous like that. Seriously guys, it's just a cartoon. You don't have to take everything so literally. And we end the episode with the Insecticons stealing the Decepticons' Energon, the Decepticons chasing after them, and we get this line from Wheeljack.
Why, just say the word and I'll design a vehicle transform for you. Maybe a motorcycle? Now that would be something new.
Which always reminded me of those transforming motorcycle exosuits that they have in Robotech. But of course, when the humans did eventually get transforming exosuits, they didn't turn into motorcycles. Again, if IDW ever did a comic book series set in the G1 cartoon continuity, I'd love to see a story where Wheeljack gives Spike a transforming motorcycle exosuit or something like that for his 16th birthday, or whatever the driving age is where they are. Well, this was a pretty good episode of G1. It really hyped up the Insecticons. Seriously, if you were a kid in the 80s and you watched this episode, you must have been begging your parents to buy you the Insecticon toys. They seem so overpowered in this episode, which is kind of what a lot of cartoons do. Whenever a new character is introduced, they start off so awesome and overpowered, it seems like they're unbeatable. But usually by the next episode or so, the hype is worn off, and they're no longer the new toy that needs to be pushed that week, and they're just the same as everybody else. It was also really interesting how the Insecticons scanned beast modes instead of vehicle modes like most of the other Transformers in the series so far. And that they were basically on a Decepticon escape pod which ejected from the Nemesis and then crashed on Earth millions of years ago. I wonder when they woke up. How interesting would it have been if the Insecticons were around during the Beast Wars? Imagine the Maximals or Predacons just out looking for Energon or a stasis pod or something when they come across the Insecticons.
What's the measure? What are you buzzing about?
Negative. I am Shrapnel Decepticon here.
Shrapnel? That was a Decepticon from the Great Wars 3 centuries ago.
I know that apparently one of the early ideas for the Beast Wars finale, the Nemesis, would have involved reactivating the Coneheads. Plus, there was Starscream and Ravage in the show, so it's not unheard of to have G1 characters in Beast Wars. And there is the whole thing that apparently Tarantulas and the Tripedicus Council actually originate from the Insecticons, thus why blowing up the Ark wouldn't have affected them. And Tarantulas does always seem to have his little secret plans and hidey holes. Wouldn't it have been cool if Tarantulas had found the Insecticons' escape pod in Beast Wars? I wonder what he would do with them. Would he activate them in Beast Wars time to help him with his own mission? Would he leave behind technology and information from the future that would help the Insecticons after they woke up? Or would he simply leave them alone so as not to chance disrupting his own history, possibly jeopardizing his own creation? Again, I keep mentioning this in every video review, and now this is the second time in this one video, but I'd love to see IDW do some kind of comic book that expanded on the G1 cartoon continuity. Although I think in this case it would be more like some kind of what-if type of story rather than actual canon. But I still wonder, why does it seem like the Insecticons only woke up now after millions of years? Well, maybe our answer is simpler than we think. Maybe, like the Ark itself, the Insecticons' escape module went undisturbed for millions of years, relatively speaking, until recent events shook them awake. And what recent event might that be? Why, the events of the preceding episodes, of course. As we saw during the Ultimate Doom, there were earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and all kinds of severe weather all over the world. So maybe some kind of earthquake or something jolted them awake after all these years. Well, enough of that tangent. What about you? What did you think of this episode of the original Transformers series? As always, let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you back here next time for the final episode of the Transformers Season 1 Heavy Metal War. See you then!